How's it going, friends, ladies and gents? Welcome to another video. This is probably one of those videos that would answer a lot of questions that people have. If you've been on my channel long enough, you'd probably know just how much I get asked about my favorite Yakuza games, and it feels like every stream that I do, someone just has to come up and say, "Hey Leon, what's your favorite Yakuza game of all time? Hey Leon, what's your top favorite Yakuza game?" And I'm like, bro, do you really have to ask me? It's such a difficult question. I mean, let's be honest. The Yakuza series has quite a bit of good entries, I would say. And because of this, I just struggle to pick one single entry. But I thought, hey, maybe we should go with a tier list because it's what the cool kids are doing nowadays, or maybe I'm a bit late to the party, but yeah. So yeah, I thought it was a good way to kind of talk a bit about my favorite games, or to rank them, not just story-wise, but also gameplay-wise, I suppose. So with that being said, I will of course go through them from the first game to the last one, in the order of the images there, from left to right. And yeah, like I said, story-wise and gameplay-wise, I'll try to combine both aspects, and hopefully this will be something of a good watch. So let's begin. Now, first of all, we have the original Yakuza 1. It was my first Yakuza game, and I really loved it for what it was. It's what got me into the series at all, and to be honest, I see a lot of people say that it doesn't hold up well, or that the gameplay is clunky, and frankly, that's probably kinda true. But in my eyes, maybe it's just me, but I feel like I can manage just fine when it comes to the combat. So honestly, I will probably put this in A tier. It's a game that, even if I'm gonna go back and play nowadays, I would have a lot of fun playing it. Not just because of the story or the gameplay, but I really love the music of this game. I feel like it's special. And compared to Kiwami, I feel like Kiwami kinda downplayed the soundtracks. Like, they're okay, don't get me wrong, I just much prefer the original soundtracks of Yakuza 1 compared to Kiwami. And the story, I mean, of course, we're going into this video assuming that you know what at least most of these are about. I love Yakuza 1. I think it's, what set the foundation for the series, gave a lot of characters, a lot of things to go on about, and established a lot of things. So yeah, I would say A tier. Okay, up next we have the original Yakuza 2. Okay, now this one might cause a bit of... this one might not be something that a lot of people agree with me about, but honestly, while it is an improvement on Yakuza 1's combat at the very least, I felt like the story had a lot left to be desired. Like, okay, I get that they tried to make it kinda on a grander scale with, more characters in this turf war between the Tojo and the Omi, and it was exciting, don't get me wrong, but there's just... I don't know where to begin with this game, to be honest. Like, first of all, we have Kaoru Sayama, which starts off as a great character who can hold her own in a lot of situations, but then I feel like somewhere down the line, she just becomes one of those characters that are there, and she becomes a plot device in which she's conveniently the sister of Ryuji, and now... And I don't know how to put it, like... And it doesn't help the fact that after Yakuza 2, she gets written off completely. Like, it was so sudden, we never hear from her after Yakuza 3, the beginning of Yakuza 3. She, I think, sends you text messages saying, oh, congratulations, you did this, you did that, you finished this completion list. but that's about it. So, you know, given this and the amount of, I don't know, like betrayals, and I don't know, I just, and wait, let me also get to another thing. In terms of the main villain or the final bosses or whatever, I also think there's a lot of other bosses who are just better than Ryuji, to be honest, because when it comes down to it, I just feel like Ryuji did what he did because he was bored and wanted to fight, and there can only be one dragon. I don't know, I just find that silly, but that's my personal view. So yeah, Yakuza 2, gameplay-wise, definitely an improvement, but story-wise, I definitely prefer Yakuza 1. Right, actually, wait, is it gonna be B tier or C tier? I don't know. You know what? I'm sorry. Okay. Next up we have Kenzan, and to be fair with all of you, Kenzan was a game that I played halfway through, I think, and then I just dropped it. I never finished it. So, for now, I'm gonna leave it be and move on to what's next, which is Yakuza 3. Now, Yakuza 3, I see it getting a lot of mixed receptions. Like, some people either love it, or the others they just don't like it at all. I guess I understand it because, you know, the beginning of the game drags on a bit with the orphanage stuff, and not a lot of people want that. They want to get straight into the action, which is understandable. But for me, I felt like, you know, it did add a lot to Kiryu's character after wanting to move on from Yakuza 2's story. And I thought that was really nice, you know, for a step towards the direction in which he wants to step away from the Tojo, which, you know, he never steps away from the fucking Tojo, but it was a start. And it had some very interesting villains. I really love Andre Richardson, and Mine is also pretty cool. Kanda was kind of funny. And who else? The Return of Lao was kind of nice. It's a really good game. I like Yakuza 3. But I guess my problem maybe would be the one thing that a lot of people also have problems with, is that the enemies just block so fucking much that your options in combat are kind of limited, which, you know, I call Yakuza 3 square times 3, no, square times 3, triangle times 2, the game, because that's pretty much the only combo which gives you a slight chance of just hitting that last hammer blow on the enemy, which is kind of ridiculous because it doesn't even deal a lot of damage to begin with. But then again, I'm probably judging from my experience playing on X hard mostly. And this game, I feel like, encourages you to use the Taiga drop way more than the other games. So because of that, I think this one is actually gonna go to the B tier. It's a good game. I love it. Love the story, love the villains, but I think it's gonna have to go at the B tier. Definitely, I would say I probably like Yakuza 1 more than this. So, right, like we said, we're gonna leave Kenzan aside. Yakuza 4. Oh boy, Yakuza 4. Rubber bullets, the game. Okay, so Yakuza 4 was a game that I was super fucking excited for back when it was released in Japan first. I remember going to my local game shop and I told him, "Yo, dude, can you order this game from me from this website called PlayAsia?" And he was like, "Okay, no problem." And that's how I got my Japanese copy of Yakuza 4. I loved playing the game. It was Japanese, so I couldn't understand much, but the idea of bringing new characters was so... It was unheard of, period. You played as Kiryu in Yakuza 1, 2, and 3, and that's it. But this game brought 3 new characters, and you know, that really shaked things up, spiced things up per se. And I really loved playing as these new characters. Akiyama was so fun to play as. Saejima was okay. Tanimura was also really gimmicky and interesting with his parries and whatnot. Kiryu, definitely a step up from his gameplay from Yakuza 3, I would say. It felt a lot faster, a lot more fluid. It was really nice. However, with that being said, if we talk about the story, Yakuza 4. Oh, Yakuza 4, I really don't know what to say. I mean, not even talking about the plot twist of rubber bullets, you have so many scenes that are just like, why? Why? Why would you do this, you know? And like, the thing is, there are so... Like, where do I even begin? Daigo selling out the Tojo, which we talked about in the previous video, just because that the Tojo was broken. What the fuck is wrong with that? Like, we're talking about the Tojo clan. It's like the biggest clan in Japan when it comes to Yakuza. I don't know, I just find a lot of things about it silly. And don't get me started on the villains. They are so fucking forgettable. Like, if you ask me about Arai today, for example, I probably wouldn't know. I probably wouldn't explain everything there is to know about him. Like, I know that he's a detective, but he tried to fake being a Yakuza, but then he liked the idea of being a Yakuza. I don't... You know what, dude? I'm sorry. Yakuza 4, you're really fun, but I'm probably gonna have to put you here. Or wait. Look... The gameplay is so fucking fun, but I don't know if I should put it in D, to be honest. I feel like there has to be something in D. You know what? Yakuza 4 can stay there. Okay. Okay, up next. Yakuza Dead Souls. Oh boy, Yakuza Dead Souls, everyone's favorite Yakuza game, which is totally canon. Now, Yakuza Dead Souls is a spin-off, as everyone knows. It's a zombie shooter, including our favorite characters, you know, Kiryu, Akiyama, and they brought back Ryuji from the dead, and then there's Majima. You know, it doesn't take into account any or much of the complications of the main series, and it just tries to be its own thing. And I really love that. The fact that they strayed so far from the main series, I guess, and turned the game into a shooter where you just shoot zombies and all that. I really love the concept, and, you know, when you combine that with our favorite characters, and the way they handle, you know, situations and, you know, the day-to-day interactions with people, I was really curious to see how they would deal with the zombie apocalypse. And so, honestly, I would say Dead Souls, you know, taking into account the performance issues and all that, honestly, Dead Souls? Easily B tier. Dead Souls is so fun, it's so entertaining, that I don't even feel bad about placing it over Yakuza 2 and Yakuza 4. It's just that fun, in my opinion. It has a lot of... it feels a lot more laid back in one way. It has a lot for you to explore and kind of see. And I just really love what it tried to be. Even if it runs at 5 FPS at some situations. But, you know, it's okay. I still appreciate this game for what it is. And up next we have Yakuza 5. Oh boy, you may dream the game. Okay, Yakuza 5. If you've been to some of my streams of Yakuza 5, I think I did talk about just how many gripes I have with the story of this game. Gameplay-wise, content-wise, this game is so fucking huge. It's so big, it has a lot to do. It has 5 characters, just like the number in the title. You know, Kiryu, Saejima, Akiyama, Haruka, Shinada. There's just so much to do. And for that alone, this game is fantastic. You're gonna have a lot of time sunken into this game. And there's a lot of sub-stories, there's a lot of mini-games, there's a lot of cities. You have even... Wait, was it 5 cities? Yeah, 5 cities. Fukuoka, Kamurocho, Sotenbori, Nagoya, and Nagasaki, I think, was Shinada's. I forget. But yeah, 5 cities, and every one of them feels distinct in a way, which is really good, especially Shinada. When I played as Shinada for the first time, with the English release, I legit felt like I was playing a spin-off, and I really love that about Shinada's part. But when it comes to story, I honestly feel like the story is worse than Yakuza 4. Yakuza 4's story was a mess. Yakuza 5's story is even a bigger mess. So I was thinking of saving the D spot for Yakuza 5. I don't know, man. It's really fun, don't get me wrong, but the story factor for this game, for me, heavily outweighs the gameplay factor, I would say. So I'm sorry, Yakuza 5. I know a lot of people love this game, but I'm sorry. The story is just... Can you... Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question about Yakuza 5. Can you even count every villain in Yakuza 5 by memory? I'll leave that to you to answer in the comments, maybe. Okay. We have next Ryuga Gotoku Ishin, which is another game that we never got in the West. And I played Ishin from start to finish, and I used Captain Epic's guide, which is an excellent guide, by the way. If you're thinking of importing Ishin, you definitely want to check out his guide. It's excellent. It has a lot of things. It gives the gist of the story. It gives you directions with sub-stories, gameplay, things like crafting weapons and that kind of thing. It's really helpful. Now, the story I felt was simple and straightforward enough. It's really good. I think the story, if I remember right, was about the class conflict at the period of time that Ishin takes place in. There are some historical elements that were based off of real life historical events, but it's not strictly faithful to the history of real life. But that being said, Ishin, I would say, is also definitely one of the more challenging games in the series. I made a big mistake of having like 2 upgrades when I uploaded videos of Ishin, and that really fucked me over so much. So based on my experience, I would probably honestly put I don't know, maybe I'm gonna do this because I never bought Ishin myself. One of my viewers actually lent me the game way back, but I don't know if I would have gone back to it and played it again if I had the game for myself. So honestly, I don't know, man. Call me crazy, but I'm not feeling the samurai games as much as a lot of the other fans. I don't know. I'm fucking nuts. Okay. Okay, next up we have Yakuza 0. Oh boy, Yakuza 0. The one game that I would say really made the series explode in the West. Came out, I believe, in 2017, and little by little, people started playing it. A lot of streamers began pushing the game, and eventually big-time YouTubers as well, or streamers, got to play it, and it really got around and made the series known for what it is today, I suppose. Now, that aside, the popularity aspect aside, Yakuza 0 had me so fucking excited as well, kind of like Yakuza 4 when it was first announced. Especially when I found out that the other playable character was going to be Majima. Majima was never a playable character, excluding Dead Souls. Let's not talk about that. Majima was never a playable character in a canon game. And seeing him in such a drastically different design, with the classy tuxedo, the ponytail, I don't know, something awoken in me. It was amazing. And I was even more excited when they showcased that each of them are going to have 3 different styles, and they looked so fluid. And playing the game, the fluidity of the combat lived up to what I've seen of the game. It's amazing. That's really all I can say. And the fact that they added 4 secret fighting styles, even if they don't really have as much to offer in the way of maybe the amount of moves or heat actions, they're a welcome addition. I really love that they added the Mad Dog style for Majima. It just felt special. Now, I think it has 100 sub-stories, which is amazing. It has a lot of mini-games. The disco minigame was my absolute undisputed favorite minigame for Yakuza 0. And gameplay aside, the story is phenomenal. That's all I can say with Yakuza 0. I loved so much about it. I loved how simple it was in comparison to something like Yakuza 4 or Yakuza 5. Yakuza 0 just felt like, something happens because this. Something happens because this happened. Something happened because that happened. Or I want to do, or something. This character wants to do this because this happened. It just felt that simple to me. You know what I mean? But then you have Yakuza 5, where this character did this because that character was in fact someone's fucking spouse 100 years ago or so. I don't know. Yakuza 0 felt so simple, straight to the point, straightforward. And the cast was just amazing as well. Really memorable villains. Shibusawa was a great final villain in addition to Laogui. I don't see many people talk about Laogui, probably because he's an assassin, and it's mostly on Dojima that he's doing all of what he's doing. But Laogui was so fucking amazing to fight, as well as Shibusawa. Amazing final bosses, and of course honorary shout out to Kuze and Awano. Just amazing, dude. The villains, the supporting characters, the soundtrack, everything about Yakuza 0 is fantastic. This is going to the S tier, no doubt about it. Okay, next up we have the remake of Yakuza 1, Yakuza Kiwami. Okay, well, here's the thing. Yakuza Kiwami is good. A lot of people I've seen before, they thought it should be an expansion to 0 rather than a standalone game. And it makes sense given that they just reused Kiryu's moveset and, reused movesets for bosses as well. Added little to no quick time events for bosses, except, the final boss, Nishiki. And that's really about it. Like, in terms of effort, I don't feel like they put in as much effort as with the other games. But then again, it's a budget title compared to the other ones. They just reused assets. They wanted to do something. They wanted to remake the game with things that they already had to, I guess, for efficiency, whatever. So for what it is, I really liked it. But with some other things, like for example the soundtrack, I just feel like it doesn't hold up to the original. And the mini games, I mean, what do you have? You have Mess King, the fucking bug fighting mini. I hate cat fight in Yakuza 0, let me just put that out there. So Mess King didn't really feel like something brand new that I should go ho about, but I don't know. I honestly think Kiwami is gonna go to C tier. It's okay, I like it. I also really appreciate the style switching they added to Kiryu. Let me just add that. It made the combat so fluid. It was at its best, I would say, with Kiwami, because of how fast you could move around and you could switch styles on the fly. You could, you also had those buffs for each style, like the rush buff with R2 and L2 gave you the speed boost. It's really good. I really love those improvements, so I just want to put those out there and give credit where it's due. Oh, and I should also mention the added Nishiki cutscenes are also pretty damn nice. I can appreciate those, but, it was just something they wanted to get out there while working on Yakuza 6. I didn't mention that. They made this while working on Yakuza 6. So yeah, that's probably why it just feels like an expansion to Yakuza 0. But yeah, it's going to C tier for me, I suppose. Okay, up next we have Yakuza 6. Oh boy. This game definitely divided fans, for better or worse, when it comes to story and gameplay as well. Now, this game is the first Dragon Engine entry in the series, and a lot of people felt like there should have been a spin-off to test the waters first, before, you know, getting Yakuza 6 out, which I agree with. Because if had they done that, Yakuza 6 might have shown more in terms of gameplay, and maybe it could have made it a more desirable game in terms of gameplay. But for what it's worth, I managed to enjoy the combat in Yakuza 6, but then again, I don't think there's many Yakuza games where I didn't enjoy the combat, so I welcomed the additions in combat when it comes to Yakuza 6. The new heat actions are really good. My favorite one probably has to be the one where Kiryu just punches the shit out of the opponent in in extreme hit mode. And what else? Right, so gameplay-wise, it brought some new minigames, like the diving minigame, the live chat, and I wouldn't call the Cat Cafe a minigame because it just felt like more of a side story or something like that. It had some pretty interesting minigames. What else? I definitely enjoyed it more than something like Kiwami, because Kiwami, I don't think there's anything in Kiwami in terms of gameplay that I enjoyed, to be honest. Like, yeah, probably nothing much. Maybe Majima everywhere, but to be honest, that got stale by the end of the game. I shit you not, like by the end of the game, I had literally 9,999 points with Kiwami. But that aside, Yakuza 6, like I said, gameplay is fine. And now let's talk about the story. The story divided a lot of people. But for me, again, I appreciate simple stories, because when some writers try to make complicated stories where, you know, this is connected with that and this is actually in reality connected with that, it can get really, I don't know what's the word, cumbersome, hardly believable, complicated, forgettable, you name it. But Yakuza 6, I felt, was relatively simple and straight to the point. Kiryu wanted to find whoever the fuck did, you know, the car crash to Haruka, and that was like the major premise of the story, and that's really it. And then you find plot twists along the way, and then there's the secret of Onomichi, which a lot of people were like, wait a minute, that's it? That's the secret of Onomichi? A huge fucking ship? And I get that. But I'd like to think of that plot point as something that Kiryu didn't care about. It was just there as something that, you know, the villains cared so much about, but Kiryu didn't give a shit. He just wanted to make sure that his family can stay safe. And the final boss of this game is also really divisive with, you know, with the fan base. But I think at the very least they did a good job at throwing at you a boss that you really wanted to beat the shit out of. The final fight left a lot of things to be desired, like, you know, quick time events, maybe multiple phases, but when it comes to, say, the soundtrack was beautiful. But it left a lot of things to be desired, like, you know, quick time events, or maybe multiple phases, things like that. But I really like the message in this game, you know, about family, how far would you go for family, that kind of thing. So, I will probably place this up there with Yakuza 1, A tier. I really like the story, the simple message of it, family, and yeah, I don't know, I don't feel like there's much more to say. I feel like I already talked a lot about this. So, let's move on to something else, which is Kiwami 2. Now, Kiwami 2 is also another hit or miss title for a lot of fans, because when it comes to being faithful to the original, there's a lot of things that it definitely left out. For example, there was a third city in Yakuza 2. It wasn't as big as Kamurocho or Sotenbori, but it was a new location regardless. There were some things that you could explore there. If I remember right, like there was a tower, which there was a puzzle that you had to solve in Kiwami 2. That puzzle took place in that third city in the original. And what else? You had like some sub-stories, like the Club Adam sub-story. That's like the one that I can remember off the top of my head. And what else? I don't know. Soundtracks, I suppose. Like Hayashi's soundtrack was gone. He got like they made a general boss theme, and that was given to some of the bosses. Like Daigo, like Kurohyou, I think was the name, the police guy who was actually a Jingle Mafia, Hayashi, whatever. So yeah, in terms of soundtrack, they definitely put in less effort with this, and with the cut things as well. But as a game that came after Yakuza 6, with what it tried to improve in terms of combat, I liked what it brought. The charge attacks unlocked so much potential when it comes to comboing, but I felt like, if you fully upgrade yourself, bosses go down so easily. And like that is also true for a game like Yakuza 0, to be honest, where if you upgrade yourself so much, enemies are gonna die quickly. But regardless, I do wish that they did something about this, because you kind of want fights to last at least a moderate amount of time. But Kiwami 2 was fun. I really liked it. I liked the what's it called? Clan Creator. It's a mini game that I feel like is cumbersome to replay, but for the first time, I really liked it. And the Hostess mini game was kind of a rehash from Yakuza 0, to be honest, but it was fun. I liked it. So, this is probably gonna go in the same tier, I would say. I don't know. It was fun, but it's still Yakuza 2, and Yakuza 2 honestly doesn't have my favorite story. Right, so next up we have Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise. Oh boy. Okay, so Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise, another game by RGG Studios in which they collaborated with Hokuto no Ken to bring us an experience that is like Yakuza, but with the shell of Hokuto no Ken. Now, I played this in Japanese as well as English, and the English release also got a dub, which is fantastic. And gameplay wise, this game is really fun. There's a lot of things to do. Definitely not as much as Yakuza games, because the secret techniques felt limited compared to Yakuza games' heat actions. You would eventually just do the same secret techniques again and again, which was okay. I mean, the secret techniques were cool, but And then probably my worst gripe with this game is the grind. Holy fuck! If you are a platinum hunter for Yakuza games and you played the Japanese version, not the English version, because the English version actually toned the platinum requirements down, you would probably want to fucking bang your head against the wall all day long, because this game required you to get 100% completion. And 100% completion on this game is no cakewalk. And I've heard people say it as well. My good friend Jimmy Q Balls said this. He went for the platinum with the Japanese release, and he went through such torture, let me tell you. You had to grind in specific places, hope that you get this item with the fucking curse of the RNG. You just had to spend a lot of time hoping you would get this, but maybe you don't get it. And also, when it comes to advancing in the main story, this game encouraged you to stop and grind before you continue, or else it's gonna punish you with higher level enemies that were going to do much higher damage to you than you do to them, and you would do, you know, low damage to them, which is okay, but you know, if you just want to get through the story, it's kind of I don't know, tedious. And don't get me started on the fucking cabaret club of this game. Holy shit. To get to Ammon, I believe, you had to, like, pay off a million something. I don't know what the fuck the currency is. You had to pay that off, and it was so fucking tedious with this game. You had to play so much, and the hostess minigame was, I would say, downgraded compared to Yakuza 0 and Kiwami 2, because when you pick a hostess, the timer doesn't stop. So you had to kind of move quickly and hope that you would get things right. The story was good, don't get me wrong. Honestly, I didn't dive much into Hokuto no Ken before this game, but this game, with, you know, the original story and characters that I tried to provide, it was really good. I liked it. But again, the gameplay, they kind of dragged it down for me, to be honest. So I think this is probably gonna go C tier. We have a lot of games in C tier, damn. Okay, and up next we have Judgment. Now, Judgment is an excellent game in my opinion. It's, you know, for being a one game in its own spin-off series, it managed to win me over scarily well. Like, holy shit. The combat, the engine that they use obviously is the Dragon engine, which is after they made 6, Kiwami 2. So at that point they had a bit to work with, and Yagami brought completely new fighting styles. Well, he does reuse moves in his styles, but they managed to implement it pretty well. And the heat actions that he has, you know, that are unique to him, are so good. I love them. The story is just amazing. It's nothing short of amazing and well done. Again, I feel like it's one of those simple stories. Like, okay, you have some involvements with people you wouldn't expect, and then there's this happening and that happening, but I felt like it was nowhere near the complexity of a game like Yakuza 4 or 5. So again, for a game that they made, you know, for the first time, I guess, Judgment as its own spin-off series, it's chef's kiss. The bosses are amazing, the soundtrack is amazing, the dynamic intros, even though I wish there would have been a bit more quick time events as well, they're good for what they are. The villains are memorable. I still love Cane Man, you have Hamura, and of course the mole. You have, I don't know, like, I just love this game. Shioya was also cool, shout out to that dude. His theme was very, what's the word, funky, loved it. And, you know, it's just amazing, that's really all I can say. And it's going to sit there at the S tier with Yakuza 0, because it's just that good. Okay, up next, the one game that probably divided people the most, even more than Kiwami 2, Yakuza 6, and whatever else game that, you know, had controversies around them. Yakuza 7. Oh boy, Yakuza 7, okay. Now, at this point of time, only the Japanese version exists, and I played the Japanese version from beginning to end. So I'm going to try to rate this based on what I understand. I obviously don't know all of the story details, but I will probably comment on, you know, something like the RPG aspect, or the navigation, the minigames, sub-stories, those kind of things. So, speaking about those first, let's get into the first thing that a lot of people are literally at each other's throats over. Fucking hell, English. The RPG combat system. Now, this is a hit or miss for a lot of people. If you want something new with this series, you're probably you might like it, or maybe you won't. If you hate RPG games, then that's really where it ends for you. You're probably not gonna like it. For me, I started with Yakuza 1, and I honestly love what they did with the Yakuza 7, because I'm not gonna say every game was a copy paste, from the previous game, where it's just the same thing, because there are improvements in every game, or at least they try to bring improvements. But Yakuza 7 is the first game where they drastically changed gameplay in a mainline game, so that we don't talk about Yakuza Dead Souls, because Dead Souls is drastically different, but it's a spin-off, so nobody really gave it much thought. But Yakuza 7, the RPG gameplay I honestly had more fun with than I expected. There is a lot of jobs to pick from. There's a lot of characters that you're going to see in the story. The soundtrack is really good. I love it. And I can't speak much for the story, like I said, so I can't talk much about that. But the boss fights that I saw, I like them. I understand that people, say, wow, what the fuck is this boss fight? 30 minutes? Holy shit, I'm not playing a game, I'm watching a movie. And I get that. That is kind of true when you watch a video, in my opinion. When you play the game, it's going to be a different experience. That's how I feel like it is with RPG games. If you play yourself, during the boss fights, it's not going to be the same as watching them. And what else can I say? Personally, I had fun with this game. But if I had to speak about the downsides of it, it's that I feel like this marks the game where they finally gave in to the microtransaction or tempting DLC territory, because not even just tempting, but bullshit DLC. We know that New Game Plus was locked DLC for the Japanese release. We still don't know how it's going to be for the Western release, but I really hope that they snap out of it and realize what they're doing. New Game Plus is a staple, a standard tradition that was always available in every previous game. So it's like, why the fuck would you lock this? This is only going to make people hate the game even more. Don't do this. So yeah, that was really shitty. And the fact that they also locked difficulties, I really didn't like that. Difficulties were always available there in Yakuza games, so it's like, again, why the fuck would you do this? And then you have other things like cosmetics, costumes, item sets, whatever. Those I can kinda, let it slide. I would appreciate if we had more costumes in the base game to unlock or something, or get in Premium Adventure, but I can look past that. But if you lock New Game Plus and difficulties, which are, again, a tradition in the series, then no, fuck you. Fix that, please. And what else? Yeah, not much more to say about this, because like I said, I don't understand the entirety of it. But for my experience with the Japanese release, I will probably have to put this in A tier, to be honest. I had such a good time streaming the game, playing it for myself, and it was really fun. There were a lot of people watching me play, and just reading the interactions with the chat, it was great. I really loved it. And yeah, that's Yakuza 7. Now, this list is admittedly missing 2 more games, which are Kurohyou and Kurohyou 2. So I'm going to also talk about those and probably place the image somewhere after the video is done in editing. Now, Kurohyou 1. Unfortunately, Kurohyou 1 and 2, which are called, Yakuza Black Panther when it comes to translation, I suppose. Honestly, I prefer the Kurohyou games to the Samurai games by a large margin. I don't know what it is about these games, but they feel so special. So good. The soundtrack is exceptionally good. It's so fucking beautiful. The gameplay is kind of different, but it's not bad, I suppose. There's a lot of fighting styles that you could learn and use in combat, a lot of heat actions, and you know, we have to remember that it's a PSP game. For being a PSP game, that alone is an amazing feat to have a Yakuza game on the PSP. And for a PSP game, I played both of them, and I finished both of them. For a PSP game, they are so good. And if you're thinking of maybe playing them, I honestly would tell you to go for it. Especially if you're the kind of person who imported Ishin or Kenzan, for example. Play Kurohyou. It's so fucking good. The bosses, the themes that the bosses have, the cutscenes, or at least what little I understood from the story, it's so good. It's amazing. The Kurohyou games, probably both of them, honestly, I'm just gonna put both of them on the same list. I would say the Kurohyou games are gonna go to the A tier. They are so good for being PSP games, like I said. The navigation, the gameplay for being a PSP game, it's just beautiful. And yeah, that seems to be everything. Now we just have Kenzan left, and I'm honestly not sure if I should place Kenzan anywhere, because like I said, I didn't finish this game, and I don't know, I find myself not a big fan of the samurai games as much as something like the Black Panther spin-off. But if I had to place it, it's probably going to be... Wait, I didn't mean to place it there. Okay, whatever. The story, from what I know, is really good. Arguably better than Ishin. But like I said, the samurai games, I'm just not feeling them. So this probably would go either to C... No, it's probably gonna stay here, to be honest. And there you have it. That's my personal Yakuza tier list. So hopefully with this, people are going to stop asking me what my favorite Yakuza game is. Not that I mind, but, you know, it's just like, it feels like every stream, yo, Leon, what's your favorite Yakuza game? And, yeah, now you know. And hopefully, I don't know, hopefully you like what you saw with this video. Wait, let me see how long this video is. Holy shit, 40... I've been talking for 47 minutes about Yakuza games. Okay, well, what's done is done. I'm actually really happy that I did this now. Okay, well, you can talk about what your favorite games in the comments are. You can make your own tier list and write it down in the comments if you want. But this is my personal tier list, and, you know, this is not the objective right tier list. Again, I just want to put that out there. This is just purely my own subjective favorite, or my own subjective tier list. And if you don't agree with any placement, that is completely fine. But with my own, you know, thoughts of these games, this is how I would put them. Now, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I want to give a special shout out to the Hannya members of the channel: Godfather Grizz, Axeo, Seilez, X2009, MiyuRon, Kaizer Redgrave, Rufus, Nathan Johnston, Raine, Sniper712, Extreme Reaper, Satoshi Yagami, When Idiots Play Games Together, and Speedwagon1809. Thank you folks so much for your support, and I hope you continue to enjoy the content that I put out, and I'll see you next time. Take care, stay healthy, and bye-bye.